my buddy popped one up, and so it was literally game point, and my partner kind of lobbed one up to him, and I knew that it was coming hard and it going to be slammed, and it was slammed right at me as I was running
You're
backwards.
backpedaling? Yeah.
I swing forward and I just completely eat it. And then I also kind of land on my tailbone, and then my head goes like this and hits the backboard wall, and every single court stopped playing.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Pickle Me This. Be sure to subscribe, comment, and like so you'll be notified when new episodes drop every Saturday morning. You definitely don't want to miss them. Also, your support helps other pickleball enthusiasts find us too. Everyone has a story. Everyone, welcome to Pickle Me This, and I'm your host, Deirdre. And today we're talking with John, whose pickleball journey began with a devastating injury that could have sidelined him from sports altogether. Instead, it led him to discover a community, build unexpected friendships, and find healing both physically and emotionally through pickleball. From rehab exercises specifically designed for pickleball to becoming a fixture in the local pickleball scene, who we all know and love, John's 4-year journey is one that will inspire anyone who's facing challenges. So welcome, John.
Thanks for having me, Deirdre. First, I want to give you a quick shout out. I've been loving watching the show, getting to learn a lot more about the pickle community. I obviously want to focus real quick on Gay Nell. I really loved her episode. She's probably the happiest person I've ever seen, and that really came to life in your episode, and it was really cool to see.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, so she's definitely a fixture on the courts. For others who don't know her, she just turned 80 a couple of months ago. It's crazy to think that she's 80.
It is.
And when I tell people that, they're like, no way. I'm like, way. I hope I'm still out in the courts when I'm 80. We'll see. Okay. To start, could you tell our listeners just a little bit about yourself and your life before pickleball?
Before pickleball, grew up here in Raleigh, North Carolina, born and raised, played a lot of basketball growing up, and then a lot of golf as well. And basketball was kind of my physical activity that I would do to stay in shape and just, have some fun, get the competitive juices flowing, go to the local YMCA a lot. And then one fateful day in 2019, I actually tore my ACL playing in a men's league at the YMCA. And so I completely stopped playing basketball after that, focused on recovery. And then after, fully recovering for about a year or two, I was starting to think about playing basketball again. And then I had another bad injury happen, which we'll get into.
Oh, so it was while you were playing the game you tore your ACL? Do you remember the moment?
And we were up 20. I remember the moment like it was yesterday. We were up 20 points, and I was out there probably, it was in the first half, and I was trying to do a little too much. And I was driving to the basket, and I took a step like I have a million times before, and my next move would have been to lay it up. And then before I could lay it up, I just hear my knee pop, and next thing I know, I'm on the things behind the goal, like climbing the wall, like screaming for my dad and mom. Like I kind of blacked out in pain, and I knew it was bad, but I was in denial about how bad. And then, everybody kept playing the game, and I was like, this is just the YMCA. Nobody's coming for me. And I kind of limped to my car and drove home to my parents, and it was a bad day.
How old were you?
I was 25.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I've heard that when people break their ACL, or is it tear their ACL, that they can hear it.
Oh, I audibly heard it. And I mean, nobody touched me either. And so that just scared me from playing basketball ever again. And I just decided to hang it up. As much as I loved it, I gave it up. And I wasn't that great anyway. I was just a hustle guy, did all the dirty work. So, playing that way, you're probably going to get injured at some point. It's just inevitable. And I figured, my dad always told me you'll probably only be able to play till you're 30. And I was satisfied getting 20 to 25.
Yeah, a lot of injuries in basketball. A lot of pressure on your legs and your knees and your ankle, all of it. Yeah.
And in basketball, if you're reacting to somebody else, so like if you're not guarding them well, somebody on your team is going to yell, whose man is that? Whereas in pickleball, if you have a ball that's going to put you in a compromising position, there's a lot of other points that be had. Just let it go, let it get out of, you don't have to go for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. So you have a unique story on how you got into pickleball, and it definitely revolves around this injury. So tell us more.
In July of 2021, I was down at the beach with my dad, and we had just gotten a boat, and we were going to actually put it in the water for the first time together. And we, the where we were down at the beach had competitive spots to get a marina spot, so we were just keeping it at a storage unit on the trailer. And it had been a while since we'd gone to it. And when I got to the trailer, the ball, which is just the rod with the wheel near the tongue, wasn't securely locked in. And then so as soon as I went to maneuver it, I hadn't positioned my feet or anything. The ball rolled up into the trailer and the tongue came down on my
Oh
foot.
my
And it was an
goodness.
18-foot center console V-hull Parker fishing boat. So, a little bit more than the ton was just sitting on my
That's
foot.
insane.
And, yeah, and it sat there for probably 4 or 5 minutes until enough people heard, us yell. I was like the guy outside the car dealerships, the inflatable guy, just yelling, help, help. And anyway, we had enough people come, they got it off. But my dad and I still joke about this, while the boat was on my foot, he turns to me and he goes, no, no, you're playing such good golf right now. And I was like, Dad, not right now,
Like
man.
what? While it was on your foot?
While it was on my foot, he said, I mean, we were having a conversation, like, he was like, should I stay with you, should I go try to get people? And I was like, we both figured out we can't lift this together, you're dead weight, you might as well go try to flag some people down.
Maybe he was trying to take your mind off of it.
I guess so. I mean,
Oh,
it was an out of body experience. It was almost like I was watching it happen to somebody else. And when they got it off, and we did see my foot, I feel like I was the one that was in least shock, because I was like, this is my problem, I've got to find a solution. So I was the
mm,
first one to say, somebody give me a shirt or a rag, tie it as tight as you can. And my dad had a good experience down there at the urgent care and said, I want to take you to urgent care. And I was like, no, we're going to the emergency room, like,
yeah.
and we need to go now.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so that was a devastating crush injury, and then I've now got 2 plates and 14 screws in my foot, and it just
Wow.
crushed the 1 and 2 metatarsal bone and a little bit of the small bones around it.
Was that the same leg as your ACL
Same
tear?
leg. So I always joke and tell people I have the left leg of an 80-year-old.
Oh my goodness. How long after your tear, your ACL tear, was that?
That was right over 2 years, and I was actually
Oh
somewhat
wow.
considering, like, trying to maybe play basketball again, just because I had gotten so much better and gotten more confident in my knee, but it wasn't meant for me.
Oh my gosh. So you're laying there letting it get healed. Well, did you have crutches? Like how long could you like how long did was the recovery for that?
I actually was blessed to be able to take 6, 7 months off from work, so I rehabbed like it was my everyday job. Spent a lot of time at the Rex Hospital gym doing water walking. The first month or so, I was just laying on my back, kind of doing minimal. I was in a boot, hard cast, and then I got out of the hard cast in a regular boot. And when you have something like that that kind of takes you off your feet for so long, the most painful part was probably the bottom of your foot. You kind of lose all that callus and toughness that you build up. So even water walking in the pool, anytime I put my foot down to start, it was really painful, and you just had to really push through it.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how did you find pickleball?
So at the time, it was around COVID, and I had a lot of buddies that were beginning to play, and I turned to my physical therapist, and I said, yeah, as I was kind of getting better and starting to do more and realize that I was going to make a fuller recovery than I expected. I told her that I had a lot of friends that were starting to play pickleball. It's something that I'm interested in and would like to do, and I thought it'd be a good way to kind of replace the competitive juices I got out through basketball. And she agreed that it would be something that I could take on. And then so she kind of oriented some of our workouts and recovery and physical therapy towards that. So starting and stopping motions and kind of chasing down a ball or getting to the net and then stopping. And so we did specific exercises oriented towards that. And I, even though I had never played, I bought a really nice paddle. My buddy Eric Roddy, who's a professional, was at the time sponsored by Engage, which I know you have the Engage.
I do.
And I bought at that time their top of the line paddle, and it probably threw a couple people off, because some people at the pickleball park kind of gauge who they're going to throw in with based off of how
That's
nice the
true.
paddles are. So I'd have people throw in with me, and they'd be very disappointed to find out that I was a fresh beginner.
So you started off with the engage paddle? Like,
I
so
did.
did you start off with those recovery exercises before you even stepped on the court?
Before I even stepped on the
That's
court. I'd
crazy.
never played pickleball, and I just decided, this is something I'm going to try and take up. And before I even played it or knew much about it, I was just like, this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah, it's almost like you were set on. I bet you were just, especially being so athletic for so long, I bet you were just very antsy just to get moving again.
That's exactly. And, I didn't think it would be as intense or, hard on your body as it is. I mean, anybody who spends, 3-4 hours at the park will tell you, you leave sore, and it's a lot more than you think. But when I first started playing, it was more of a hit and giggle, just kind of playing with buddies, not really knowing what we were doing. Nobody was really that good. And it was really nice. And it was just kind of a good way to laugh and, get out there and enjoy myself.
Hmm. Did you start playing at the courts, like at rec play, or did you?
No, we started playing at courts actually near North Hills Park. One of our buddies joined, I believe, Northbrook. It's a little neighborhood community
Oh
with a
yeah.
pool and 2 tennis courts. So we weren't even playing on pickleball courts. We were playing on tennis courts. And so, the net's higher. You can't hit the ATPs. And then somebody told us, like, you guys should play on actual pickleball courts. It's way different, way better. And that's what led me to North Hills Park. And at first, I would go with, the group of guys that I started playing with, my friends that I grew up with. And I just got a lot more into it, and did, like, my burning desire to get good kind of led me to, like, we would play a couple games and then they would leave. And I was like, I don't care who I play with. I just like playing. And so I would
Right.
stay after they left and throw in with other people randomly. And that's kind of when I realized how much more strategy was involved, and yeah, how much more growth there could be within the game for me. And,
Hmm.
started playing the right way, playing with people that played the right way. And that's when kind of the love really grew.
That's true. I think I started playing the same way. I played with a group of people and we just played for fun and just hit it around. Because I think a lot of people are afraid to play with others in the beginning, right?
Oh,
It's just
yeah.
like, whatever. Like, I'm just here to have fun. And then when you start playing with other people is when you actually really start to enjoy the game more.
And,
I
and
remember first seeing dinking. I don't know about you. First seeing dinking the first time other courts. I'm like, what are they doing? Like, it just seems so silly.
Yeah, no, I was not a dinker to begin with, and then when you start playing against people that do it, and then you just pop it up to them, point over, it'd be really
Yeah.
frustrating. But I just kind of powered through it, and I mean, I even found myself, there were a couple times, early on in pickleball where I would stay at the park till dark, and the lights would come on, and a lot of people would leave, and I'd be drilling with somebody that I met just an hour ago, just like, hey, there's not anybody out here, but I want to try to get better. You mind playing like skinny singles, or, you just want to hit some dinks, some cross courts. And because I would just get frustrated that, point over, as soon as you pop it up to somebody good, just they
Hmm.
put it away.
Yes. 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 Remember a couple years ago, there was a point or a time of the day where nobody was really there that you could do stuff like that, but not
Yeah.
anymore.
No, not anymore. It's around the clock. And but that's a good thing for, always having people to play with. And I have a couple buddies that have just started to play, and, taking up the game. And I'm like, look, just come to the park. You'll find people to play with. You'll find people around your skill. You'll get a lot better, a lot faster. And
Yeah.
it doesn't really matter what time of the day it is. You'll find people.
Yep. Do your friends who you originally play with still play with you?
The only one that does really is Ryan. A lot of them, it was, I feel like, more of a COVID phase. I mean, they will play, but it's not like they're, going to the park on a regular basis.
You talked about meeting people. Could you share a story about a friendship that actually started on the court that you actually surprised you?
First one that comes to mind, I would have to say, is Lindsay, the pastor. Just like one of the nicest guys ever. So I start just we would play randomly over the last few years.
And he's a generation older than you. We should
Uh,
mention that.
yeah, like probably nearing 50 years old. Really,
Hmm.
really nice guy. And I actually, recently went through something trying in my life, and I was just sitting next to him at the pickleball courts, and I was like, Lindsay, yeah, I'd love to get lunch with you sometime and maybe just talk about life. And he was just like, absolutely. We got lunch. It was great.
Aw.
And now we have a little Bible study that actually starts this week that we're doing with a handful of guys that are all pickleballers at the courts. So,
Oh, that's great.
yeah.
Isn't it great, like meeting people at the court and like it turns into something else off the court?
Big time. And like, as Jed and Stacy, I've gotten really close with Jed. I mean, I text him probably more than almost anybody in my life. So
Mhm. Yep.
I'll
And Jed's
always
also way older. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And
Jed's on a cross country trip right now. Do you know that?
I did know that, and then yeah, but he's always either playing pickleball or taking his son somewhere climbing.
Mhm. Yes. I'm trying to get Jed and Stacy on this podcast. It's just like their schedule's just so crazy. They're going to be on together for sure.
Yeah, they
That'll be
have
fun.
to.
So you had mentioned to me, I didn't know this about you, that you had joined a league in Chapel Hill, Durham, like the Chapel Hill Durham with a bunch of guys, some of your guys you met from Rec Play. What stands out most about that time?
Well, obviously we had just started playing a lot at the park, and we were really only playing with each other. And we were like, we need to kind of see, how good we actually are, and if we can compete and hang. And this league came up, and we just on a whim we're like, let's do it. And at the time, they didn't have a Raleigh league, so it was Chapel Hill Durham, and we would be driving, fighting like after work traffic to get to Chapel Hill and Durham to play pickleball. And the first couple times we were thinking to ourselves, like, what are we doing here? But we'd get where we were going. And we actually signed up through Bethesda Park, was like our home
Oh, yeah.
court. And then all the other places were like private courts or country clubs, it was kind of cool to see all these different spots. I remember the first one thing that really stuck out to me is the first match and the first game within the match, because you play a lot of the different teams. I was playing against this guy, Brian Colbus, who is at the Governor's Club in Chapel Hill, and he actually is the UNC women's coach and was an All-American tennis player at Notre Dame. And we were playing against him and his son. And I was playing with the best player on our team, and I was definitely not like holding my weight at all. And it was one of my first competitive games, and I just tightened up, and we got smoked. And I was like, what am I doing here? Like, should I even be doing this? But we grew so much as the league went on, just
Yeah.
playing different play styles, then obviously, time is your friend in pickleball. Like, I feel like a month in pickleball is like a year in another sport. You can grow really fast and
You
really pick
can.
things up. And
Especially especially when you play better people. It's like the best way to get better.
yeah, big time, big time. And I was kind of bad at first at the parks, like, always trying to play like in the best game or the best people I can. And I've kind of, gotten a little bit away from that. And, I've just played so many pickleball games and know I've got so many more pickleball games to play now that I, kind of will play with whoever. A lot of times we'll show up with my own four, and we'll play like our, first couple games. But then, when they leave, I tend to stay around and just play with whoever I can throw in with.
Mhm.
But we also, it was really fun just kind of getting together outside of the league and practicing in preparation for the league. And I know you have remember Eric, who was dear to you, and yeah, we all
I
miss him
love
dearly.
Eric.
He was on that team, and we would all a lot of times go to Village Draft House after the game, and sit down, maybe have a beer, have a bite, talk about the match that ensued. Either getting beat pretty bad, or winning in a close one, and how awesome it was. And it was just really fun, and it was kind of the first time we got like competitive outside the park, and it was really special.
Oh, that's awesome. It's again, like I feel like that's the best part about pickleball is the friendships and the community you build around it for sure. And your dog agrees too.
Yeah, Archie agrees.
You know how pickleball, especially rec play, there's definitely conversations that happen off the courts while you're waiting.
Yeah.
Any memorable conversations you have between games that sticks out in your mind?
I have a lot of memorable conversations. I mean, there's just too many to kind of single out. I would say though, anytime I talk with Kenneth, uh,
Yes.
he's one of my favorite people to just sit on the side of the courts and talk with. He's got great perspective on life. You can literally talk to him about anything, and he's just he's experienced a lot of similar things that I have. And then he was a boxer. I just feel like he's got a very diverse background, and he's a really really interesting guy. I really like talking with him. I also like talking with George a ton, just because he's so damn funny, and you never know what's going to come out of his mouth. Really, really like talking with him. Uh, there's not really one that I can like single out. I've just had so many conversations on the side of the court, and that's a big part of the draw for me. Is I'm a very extroverted social being. I really like the aspect of. I mean, sometimes I don't like waiting as long as we have to these days, but I do like the lull between games and just
Yeah.
standing on the side and getting to know people. And that's oh, actually, one does come to mind. One does come to mind.
Okay.
It was Ella, and Aubrey and I, before we moved in together, we had a peeping tom situation. And I was talking about it with one of my friends, and Ella overheard, and she like interjects and is like, with what she does for work, she's very well versed on people with that might have that type of background. And she was giving me her opinions and her thoughts on it. If you need any help, don't hesitate to call, or like. And so I actually took her up on that, and I got to know Ella a lot better through that, and she's really special. And I watched her episode too, and I had no idea that she grew up in Katona, which is actually I go there once a summer to play in a golf tournament with one of my buddies.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
And I
so
grew up there too. It's kind
yeah,
of funny that her and I grew up literally our high schools played sports against each other. So
I
I
know.
like it, like we are on each other. It's like crazy. And then we met here. It's just funny. Life's funny sometimes. Tell me about a time when pickleball taught you something unexpected about yourself.
I'd say I learned a lot about just patience in general. I'm an impatient person off the court. I'm the guy that's on the side of the court, listening in, trying to hear what everybody else's scores are, so that I can get back on quicker.
I do that.
Or, or like and I need to work on that. I definitely need to work on just patience in general. But learning to be more patient on the court, especially like not trying to force a speed up or hitting the right shot, not trying to force something to happen. I've kind of thought about that and how I can maybe translate that into my own life a little better.
I like that. I am impatient too. It's kind of
And
funny
then
that you say that.
I've also learned about like maybe need to be less competitive, because when I first started, I feel like a big draw of pickleball was oh, that guy beat me, like he shouldn't be beating me, and then you just kind of like want to get better and better, and you want to like check them off your list as like somebody that you eventually beat. And I feel like that was not, that helped me get better, but that was the kind of the wrong way to look at it,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? And uh it kind of made me take a step back and realize like there's more to life than just wins and losses, and just enjoy the process, enjoy pickleball. And I kind of try to apply that to work and just day-to-day life.
Oh, I really like that too because I'm impatient also. Like I actually get a little annoyed. I say a little annoyed when people take their time in between serving. Like if they, I don't know if they dilly dally, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, serve the ball.
Oh yeah,
I'm like,
and
just serve the ball.
I hate to say this, but I remember um said something to Dr. David when Dr. David used
Mm,
to say the score twice,
mhm.
and so that's what made Dr. David say the score once.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. Like you got to stop saying the score twice. Like it's
Yeah,
taking a little too long. But I love Dr. David. I've played with him a bunch of
I do
times.
too.
He's a staple at the park. Really great guy, and he
He
actually
is.
grew up with Airedale Terriers, which is the type of dog that I have, which I feel like is a rare breed. And we always talk to him about that.
Isn't that kind of funny how you find connections with people? When I've talked about my impatience too, I once played with somebody at Bailiwick and he was on the other side. And in between each point, he's like one of those people who loves to coach people when he plays with them.
Yeah, I know the type. I know the type. I feel like it's it's a good thing and to help people and give them tips, but you should always lead with like, hey, like I play a lot. Yeah, I know the game well. Like, would you like me to give you some advice? Don't just
Yes,
unsolicitedly try to tell somebody what to do, because if you tell the wrong person what to do, they're just going to be like, even if it's the right thing that you should do, they're just going to be, I'm not listening to this person. Like, why?
absolutely.
Who do they think they are trying to tell me what to do?
Yes. And this person, too, this game specifically, they were almost after every point, they were giving this person coaching advice and literally like delaying the next serve. And I was like, oh my God. I'm like, let's, after a couple of points, I'm like, let's go. I actually said
Yeah.
something. I can't remember how I said it, but I'm like, can we just move along this game?
Yeah, and then like if you get stuck in a game like that, in the back of your mind, it's kind of like, all right, like let's get this one over with. I'll throw in somewhere else when we get done.
Exactly. I put my battle in somewhere else.
Yeah,
Um, what's your most embarrassing moment on the pickleball court? Everyone loves these stories.
without a doubt, one that comes to mind, and it was probably I've been playing about a year. I was like getting better, but not quite there. And I was playing at Method Road Park with one of my buddies, and I don't know if on the right side on the far court,
Yep.
there's the little like hit back wall that
Yes.
they have.
The wall, yeah.
And so we're playing against two guys that were definitely better than us, but and also, when you don't really, when you're not as good and you don't know what you're doing as much, you kind of run around the court like a chicken with your head off. You don't necessarily know where to be on the court. I used to feel like when I was bad, I would get so much exercise just chasing balls. But anyway, my buddy popped one up, and I want to preface saying nobody had told me the rule: never swing forward while you're running backwards. And so it was literally game point, and we were closer than we should have been, and we felt like we had a chance to get back in it. But they had the ball, and it was game point, and it was second serve, and my partner kind of lobbed one up to him, and I knew that it was coming hard and it going to be slammed, and it was slammed right at me as I was running
You're
backwards.
backpedaling. Yeah.
And I'm backpedaling, and I swing forward, and I just completely eat it, and I break my fall with my left hand, luckily, and then I also kind of land on my tailbone, and then my head goes like this
Oh,
and hits the backboard wall, and every single court stopped playing, and they're all looking at me like, "Are you all right? Are you all right?" And I thought I was all right, but I get up and I'm like, "Man, my wrist really hurts." And so like I don't know why, but my first thought was to get in push-up stance and try to do a push-up just to see like if my wrist was okay, and it clearly was not.
oh
And so I
no.
get back in my car, and I start driving, and I'm driving with the left, and I'm like, ooh, like I need to drive with the right. That does not feel good. And sure enough, I broke my wrist.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, and so but I went to Raleigh Orthopedic, got it worked out and everything. They gave me a cast, and it wasn't like a bad break. It wasn't like a full break or anything, but it was still, broken. There's nothing to play around with. And I had a cast on for probably 2, 3 months. And I asked the doctor, I was like, can I still play pickleball? And he's like, I wouldn't advise it, but if you're careful, I don't see any reason not. And I started playing. And so
Oh.
for a while I had it, and then I came to the park, and a few people like didn't know me because I didn't have my cast, and they just knew me as the guy with the cast.
I actually remember that. Actually, now that you say that, first I didn't know the story behind it for sure, but now I do remember you playing in a cast. I do.
Yeah.
You're too many injuries for how young you are.
Oh, trust me, I know. I broke my arm in fourth and sixth grade, once on a trampoline and once on the football field. So I've broken about everything you can. And if somebody has an injury and needs to talk to somebody, reach out to me. I
Oh
can tell
my
you everything you need
gosh,
to know
John.
about recovery process.
What's your biggest pet peeve when playing pickleball?
Let's just say you have a strong player and a weak player, a strong player and a weak player, and you're playing against some people,
Mhm.
and then you have somebody just target the weak player the whole time. Just like caring about winning that specific game. And one comes to mind. I was playing against George, and it was like really crowded at the park, and we were playing against two people we just got thrown in with. And George, I love him to death. He's one of my favorite people at the park, but the guy loves to win. And
You
he's a
don't say.
he's a win at all costs guy. Like I actually, we've exchanged numbers, and we actually exchanged chess.com usernames. And I know, just knowing how much he loves to win, he's very good, by the way. I beat him the first time we played, and now I refuse to play him again just so I can have that over him. But we were playing, and it was crowded, and I knew like once the game was over, we were gonna have to wait a good while. And George just hit probably 85% of the shots to my partner. I don't even know who they were. And won real quick, like 11-3, 11-4. Game lasted 5-10 minutes at best. And I was just like, come on, man, like, let's hit it to each other, and a little more, and get a good game going. And when I was first playing and just trying to win my games, I found myself doing more targeting than I probably should have. And now I find myself doing the opposite, where I just want the best points and the best game available. So I'm, more times than not, will try to force it to the better player.
Mhm. Yeah. I actually have tried targeting, and I can do it sometimes, but I actually have a harder time doing that sometimes because my brain's just looking for the best shot. It's almost like I see blurred faces when I'm playing, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, and then oftentimes when you get in your mind that you're going to target somebody and just try to force it to somebody, you end up not hitting the right shots, not hitting the smart
Exactly.
shots, and you just get what you get out of your game and out of rhythm.
Yes, totally. Like that's totally me. So I'm like, I don't want to do it. Like when people tell me to do it, I'm like, okay, okay, but I have a hard time.
There's a place for it, and like if you're playing in a tournament or a league, if you see somebody that has a glaring weakness or is like clearly the lesser player of the two, like, within reason, you want to try to hit it to them, or, hit that backhand drop that they struggle with, or like hit it to their backhand in general. But at the park, I don't think it's really the time and place for it.
Yeah. So of all these injuries we talked about, like all these challenges you got to get you here, and I have to say you're really good.
Appreciate that. I play a lot, so I feel
You
like
are.
if somebody else played as much as I did, they'd be a lot better than me. It's definitely from the grind and the time. I got determined that like I'm gonna be competent at this game and play a lot.
And you're good. Do you have like a moment of triumph, like you're like you look back at now and you're like, I can't believe I got here, or you're super proud that you got here through everything you've been through?
When you first start playing, and you see somebody that's really good at the park, you like watch them, and you're kind of trying to pick up on things like where they are on the court, what they're doing. You're kind of in awe and amazed by like, wow, like they can reset that, or like they got that back. And then the triumph for me was when I started breaking into the games with the people I used to watch and be in awe of, and be like,
Yeah.
that guy is so good. Like, how does he do that? Like, how does he even hit a shot like that? And so then that really was it for me. And then, not even just breaking into the games, but then eventually winning some of those games. Listen to a lot of NBA podcasts. They're like, what is your welcome to the league moment?
Oh, I
And
like
I'd
that.
say my welcome to the league moment was like the first time, Mr. Mike K Hall, the teacher, when he was like, hey man, like, you want to play with us? Like that probably for me was my, big triumph, because he can play with whoever he wants. He's so good. And he doesn't move necessarily as fast as the next guy, but he doesn't have to. It's just placement, and
So
he's a
good.
magician out there.
Yeah. Yeah, isn't he? I love watching him play too. I'm like, oh,
Yeah,
it's like
no,
it's so
it's
good.
it's an art. I mean, and then
Uh-huh.
what's funny is, when I would play against him, I wouldn't say necessarily take it easy, but he wouldn't give you all he had. But let's just say it got to like 7-8, or 8-8. Just all of a sudden, those last 3 points, he wins them very handedly and quickly.
Yeah. Absolutely. All right, bring her on.
Aubrey.
Oh my God.
Come on, Aubrey. So welcome, Aubrey. How did you start playing pickleball together? You were together before pickleball.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So how did you start playing?
I played because I wanted to spend more time with him.
Oh, yeah.
Hang
Because
out,
he
spin it.
plays a lot.
Yes,
Yeah.
he plays a lot, and I was like had recently been laid off, and I was like, oh, this is something that's fun and free to do.
It
And
is.
then I started playing a little bit more without him, but I did start to play because I just wanted to hang out with the guy.
Yeah, at first it was just us, and we would go together, and then I wanted Aubrey to be able to kind of make pickleball her own thing too, and so I was like, you should play with some other people, and then so she actually formed a big relationship with Shireen, who we dearly miss, and I hope that she's moving back
Yes.
sooner than later. And so her and Aubrey started playing a lot together outside of just the times that Aubrey and I would play together, and the next thing I know, I'd be showing up to the park, and Aubrey'd be on the court with Shireen already.
That's great.
So
Oh, nice.
And she's a lot naturally better than I was. Like,
I know. I'm like, how did you get so good so fast? Like the rest of the world wants to know.
she's very athletic, and I feel like if she played as much as I did, she would be beating me left and right.
maybe
Yeah.
one day.
Now, what do you think of John's passion for the game? Like he plays a lot and he's gone a lot.
Yes, he plays a lot. He plays hours. Like he didn't even tell me he was gone until like 10:20 at night. Didn't even text me or anything, and I was like, "Where are you? Are you okay?" But I mean, it's healthy. It's
I
not
know that could
bad.
be worse.
Yeah, it could be worse. And he's really good, so I enjoy watching him play and stuff in his little tournaments. But no, I like it for him.
I lose track of time out there, admittingly. Like,
It's
I know. And
true.
then what a good thing too is, a lot of people these days are way too on their cell phone. Like, when I'm at the court, I'm not even thinking about that. I'm just lost in the whole environment and the scene, having conversations, getting on the court. When I do look at my phone, it's like just to either check the time, or, I do a lot of fantasy sports. Sometimes I got to make sure my lineup's good before the NBA games start, all that kind of stuff. And
I
then,
got
I should think about texting Aubrey more, admittingly, but I know she knows where I am. Shout out to my friend Keisheen. He's a very, very athletic guy. it's kind of funny. I used to play a lot of basketball with him, but he would be like on the good team and playing on the A court at the Y. He was kind of a mentor to me in basketball. We hadn't talked that much lately, and then he hit me up a couple months ago, like, I want to start playing pickleball. And now he's just consumed by the game as well, and he's getting really good, really fast. 10 times the athlete I am, and it's fun to watch his journey, and it kind of reminds me of mine and my own. But I was out there till 10:20 just drilling with him, and I was like, Aubrey, I'm sorry, I just completely lost track of time.
Yeah. Do you share locations? Could you look them up?
Actually, we don't.
Yeah, you get lost. I mean, you literally can spend like 4 or 5 hours out there, and it feels like 30 minutes. I mean, time flies at the pickleball park.
Yeah, because you just get these chit chats. Two questions for you both together. Let's start with the fun one. What's your favorite memory of playing together?
I'll let you take that one.
See, I don't know, because I just go out there and I have fun.
I would say one time we were playing against Mike and his girlfriend, and those were the games I was talking about, where it was like, it'd be 8-8 and things would be going good, and then just in the snap of a finger, Mike would beat you. But I've sometimes find myself like trying to tell Aubrey what to do out there, or like give advice. Also, I realized that sometimes you just give somebody like too much to think about, and she just gives me this look and turns to me, and she's just like, you're telling me too much. Like, I'm overwhelmed. Like, just let me do me. She likes to do her backhand like this, and I'm telling her you need to do that. And that's probably like the one thing that I feel like would take her game to the next step. And at first I would always say something about it, but now she just turns to me and she's like, I know, like, I'm doing that. Like, she knows it.
She gives you that like no more talking look.
Yeah.
Or like, don't say anything. I know I did something. Don't say anything.
And I mean, she's just as competitive as me, wants to win just as much as me, and she's very good. And like, I've had my friends that know us separate from pickleball that like will just randomly be at the park. They'll text me after the fact, after watching Aubrey play, and be like, "Damn, Irby, like, your girl has hands. Like, she's an athlete." And I'm like,
really good. Yeah,
I know.
There are a lot of couples who can't play together. They just either too competitive, or they just can't play together because they like I don't say annoy each other, or maybe they coach each other too much. Who knows? They just choose not to play together. What has been a time on the courts you got frustrated with each other? Maybe there hasn't been one.
No, we don't get too frustrated with each other. I'd say if anything, she gets frustrated with me trying to tell her what to do, and then like at first, when I was hyper competitive and coming up in the game, and focusing too much on the wins and losses, I would get frustrated if she would make the same mistake a few times. But now I've just realized, like, it doesn't really matter that much. It's just pickleball. We're just out here to have fun and have a good time. And so I've let go of all that. I don't know if we could do a tournament. You don't think so?
Yeah, we could.
Yeah, you could.
Yeah.
Why?
I was more saying for like our relationship's sake. I don't want
to. So that you have to win?
No. Well, I
like to win. I think we could do it.
Well, then we should do it.
For our relationship's sake. Come on, we're fine.
Yeah, sounds like a challenge. Sounds like you have to go find one to sign up.
Now we do. Yeah.
Yes, you do. All right, a couple final questions to wrap up. How has pickleball changed your perspective on community and connections?
This is yours.
All right, I got this right here.
Bye, Aubrey.
Bye.
I would say that, it has made me realize how much more in common you have with so many people in so many different walks of life and diverse backgrounds than you realize. I've made a lot of connections, a lot of friends out at the pickleball court, and you spend all that time talking on the sidelines in between games, and you just you're talking to people that you probably would never talk to otherwise. Somebody that if you plop down at a bar and see him next to you, you might not strike up a conversation, but the fact that you have the common interest in pickleball, you just start talking, and the conversation that starts about pickleball leads to all different directions and angles, and the next thing you know, you're like, yeah, we bonded over this, but we have so much more in common and just so many different perspectives, and you build relationships. And I mean, I'm a big community person. I love talking to people, and I've just made so many friends through the sport. And like, if I were to go on my phone right now, I mean, most of these people I don't need to leave the pickle on, but if you just type pickle in my contacts, you're going to have like at least 50 numbers, and I leave the pickle there for sentimental reasons, and just, I know damn well who you are, but I'm just gonna leave that pickle moniker there. But find myself conversing with a lot of them, texting a lot of them. I've played golf with people that I've met at the pickle park. I've
Oh, I
done
want to know who plays golf. I play golf. I want to know who plays golf.
Sean, Sean's buddy Connor. He's probably the best golfer. I mean, other than when Akshay was still around.
Yeah, Akshay. Yeah.
I think he moved to Jupiter and hasn't come out as much. But Sean's buddy Connor, he played at UVA. He's a
Oh,
very,
wow.
very good golfer. I'm actually playing with him Wednesday for the first time. I'm really
So, are you a
excited
good
about.
golfer too, John?
I'm all right. I'm all right. I'm
Oh,
nowhere.
because you played when you were younger. Of course, you're good.
Yeah, I'm nowhere in Connor's level, but then Big John, he's one of my buddies. He started to come out a ton more recently. I played golf with him as well a couple times, and if you think that guy can hit a pickleball hard, you should see him hit a golf.
What's
ball.
your handicap in golf?
I'm a 3.
Oh gosh, no, you're terrible. I mean, that's really good.
I play a lot. I played 80 rounds last year, so
Wow.
I go down to Pinehurst a lot on the weekends, and
Oh wow, I didn't know that about you. That's awesome.
yeah.
That's
And
really cool.
actually, speaking of community and pickleball, when I was in Pinehurst just this past weekend, I went out to the courts Friday, and I ran into a group of about 5 or 6 people playing, and one was like a 60-year-old woman, and then the rest were like kids around my age, and one guy that was 19, one girl that was 23, and the rest were all around my age, and they were actually preparing to play in the PPA tournament the next day. 2 were doing 4-0, 2 were doing 4-5, and I hopped in and rotated in with them and had a bunch of great games. I mean, played for like 3 hours and exchanged numbers with all of them. They're like, look, Pinehurst isn't as big of an area as Raleigh, so they're always looking for more people to play with
That's
and better players.
awesome.
And so now I have like a community down there to play with, and they were all incredible guys. So small world. Pickleball really is a community, and like I feel like anybody that plays, you can just be like, hey, you play, I play, and then next thing you know, you're talking for 2 hours.
Yes. And then how many times people have come from like other places and they're like, oh, we just dropped in. I love that about the sport too. You can just drop in. And
Yeah.
did you ever think you'd be like hanging out and friends with people your parents' ages? Like,
No, I didn't. Like, I truly didn't. And
no.
actually some of my like parents' friends would text me and be like, hey, we need one at 7 a.m. We're playing before work, can you do it? And I would be playing a lot with them, and so it was like, quite literally my parents' peers and my friends' parents. And then one of my mom's like best friends who she was roommates with before she got married to my dad, when they were living in Raleigh as young adults like I am now. I hadn't seen the woman in like 5 or so years. And I see her across the park, and I'm like, Becky, like, is that you? And like, we played together, and now, we text like a couple times a week, always playing together, randomly here and there. And so, just rebuilt that connection. And like I mentioned, my buddy Keisheen earlier, we hadn't spoken for years, and then he just got interested in pickleball, saw that I tweeted something about it, reached out, and now, I text him, almost every other day. So, I mean, it's, it really does. It is just a bridge builder, I would say.
Really? It's like probably like one of the only sports I can think of that has such a large age difference and everybody can get along.
And you make so many different connections, and so so many different people with so many different capabilities. Like, they used to say a ton of business was done on the golf course, and now I feel like I read an article somewhere that like
Same.
a ton of business is done in like pickleball outings, and because you can play the game and then talk in between it. But like I heard somebody on your podcast mention, and I think it was you, getting advice from Dr. Dave, unsolicited. Like, there's just a lot of different people with a lot of different backgrounds, and you can kind of lean on them. And through the connection of pickleball, they'll just be like, yeah, how can I help you out?
Yep, absolutely. All right, final question. If pickleball hadn't come into your life when it did, where do you think you'd be today?
I think I'd be a lot less happy, honestly, because it kind of gave me something active and something to do with my time, and, put my competitive juices into. And I'm not very good at sitting around. And half the reason I kind of was drawn to it is like, do I really just want to go to the gym, hop on the treadmill, and just do the wash, rinse, repeat, same thing for 3 days a week or whatever? Or like, would I rather be out doing stuff with my friends and seeing people, being with people and surrounding yourself with people? Like, I love that aspect about it. And,
Right.
not only are you being active and, bettering yourself and getting healthier, but you're also building a community, building relationships, and just having fun and having deep laughs. Like there's nothing like, having that long point, and then somebody messes up the easy shot at the end, or like somebody hits a lob and then you've hit it like 20 times in one point, and then somebody whiffs the slam and just the ball goes over their head and they swung as hard as they can at it but didn't hit it, and then you all just almost fall over laughing, like just things like that. And then also just walking in the park, seeing everybody, their name, they know your name, hey, how's it going, and then leaving, and just fist bumping everybody on the way out.
And they're like, oh, John, you're leaving?
Yeah, no, I mean, sometimes you got to drag me away from the park. I'm the king of saying one more, and then it turns into 5 more.
It is nice going to somewhere where everybody knows your name. Like, hey, they're all excited when you come in, and then they're sad when you leave. Well, John, it's been so fun chatting. We appreciate having you on. And I'll see you at the courts.
Absolutely, looking forward to it. We haven't played as much together.
I know.
I know you're dishing out the bread and the baked goods, which I absolutely love. If you haven't had Deirdre's bread or anything that she brings to the park, it's immaculate. It's amazing. Obviously, the sourdough, those oatmeal chocolate cookies. I mean,
I'm actually bringing bread tomorrow. So if you're going to come tomorrow, come tomorrow.
I will. I'll be there. You need to come tomorrow.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. We'll see you next time when a new episode drops each Saturday. If you like this episode, be sure to leave us a like, and we'll see you out on the courts. Bye.